So I'm going to introduce, we're going to go ahead and get started today. It's going to be a fairly long day, lots of great information. We're going to also focus it toward the end on resources, things you can talk to, things that you have available to help see where you're at in your retirement planning, retirement savings. So I'd like to turn it over to Steve Conger. He's going to open it up, and then we have another person to talk toward the bottom of the hour. So Steve?
Thank you much, Todd. I appreciate it. I think I was causing the echo. I was not muted, and I think that was where the problem was. I want to introduce myself. I am Steve Conger. I am the chairperson of the Conference Board of Pensions. I am retired elder from the Indiana Conference living in Chicagoland suburbs, retired a couple of years ago. This is my second stint as the chairperson of the Board of Pensions. I did it 25 plus years ago, back when we were the old North Indiana Conference. So that gives you some idea of how long ago it was. Today's going to be a great day. Today's a day and an opportunity for us to ask questions, to reach out, and know that you can reach out to all of us and ask us those questions after this is over. But I'll tell you, one of the best things about today is you're going to get Todd's contact information. And Todd was a huge help to me after I attended one of these, as I was getting ready to start drawing my pension and trying to make sure I could do it correctly and deal with some glitches in the software that was online. And he helped me get my pension all set up and where I want to be. So be sure you get that and set up an appointment to meet with him or one of the other members of the team to help you through that process. But I also want to invite you, if you're retiring in 2025, one of the good things about today is you do not have to worry about Compass. I mean, it's not really important for you. We're going to talk probably a little bit about Compass today, but I'll tell you, there is something that Compass did for you that is very important. One of the things that General Conference did is they no longer mandate that you must take an annuity with your MPP. That is no longer a requirement, and I'm sure that will be talked about more today, but that is a huge advantage. And if you don't know why that's an advantage for you, you need to look into it, because there are financial implications to taking an annuity and to not taking an annuity, and you need to be sure to look into that. But one of the things I want to say to you is our annual conference staff is amazing. We are very blessed with a great staff of people who are dedicated and hardworking and helping you prepare through retirement, are there when you have issues with retirement, and will guide you along the process. Particularly Angela Bird, who leads that team, is wonderful. Angela does a great job, and I'm sure you'll hear from her a little bit today. She's not one who likes to put herself up in front, but she is one who behind the scenes will make sure that things get done. But there are three things I want to leave you with. I'm not taking my 30 minutes. I'm only going to take a few minutes today. Three things I want to leave you with today is, if you have not used Ernst & Young, use Ernst & Young. It's a free service. It's available to you. Again, I'm sure that will be talked about later today. Secondly, if you are not familiar with the Compassion Fund and you need assistance, know that the Compassion Fund is there for you. It's for active clergy and retirees who are going through a financial hardship because of medical bills. We are there to help. If you have questions about that, reach out to me, steve.conger@inumc.org, or to Angela Bird, and we'll be glad to get you in that process. It is important that you know that that is available for you. And finally, we're here to help. We want to help guide you along the way and answer any questions. So if you have questions as we move through this process, as you move toward retirement, and I can tell you, the water is fine. It's a great place to be as you move toward retirement. Feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Angela, reach out to Todd or other Wespath staff, and they will be glad to help you through that process. So I hope that today is a great day of learning, a great day of questioning, but I know that more questions will come after today is over. So don't hesitate in reaching out and asking those questions to any of us. Thank you and have a great day. And I will be here if I can help. I'll be watching and joining you in that. And I'm not sure who's taking over from here.
All right, I think we will take it from here. So thank you so much, Steve. Hi, I'm Cheryl Hatcher. I am with Wespath as well, and I am a benefit educator along with Todd Creviston. So again, thank you, Steve, for your kind words. The benefit office here is wonderful. We love working with them, and it looks like we have a great showing on the webinar, or on the webinar side. So we do have people here in the here with us in the building, and then we also do have ones that are online. So, Todd? Mm-hmm. Let's see.
So next up, we have Glenn from the foundation. Do you also have, Glenn, do you have slides? Okay.
Okay. Great.
Well, good morning, everybody. Great to see you. And gee, like I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. That makes me worry. So just on behalf of the foundation, congratulations and very, very excited for you. I come to these things every year, and it is true. I see more and more of my friends and more of my colleagues here. So it's a great time for you. I was just thinking the other day about how honored I feel to be part of the covenant. And when I look up and I see from year to year and I see you, I'm just thankful that you are seeing the journey through. You know, if you're like me, you had friends, colleagues who got into the ministry, and then they faded away. Either it disappointed them, it wore them out, they got into something hurtful, something happened in their life, and they didn't make it to this time. And we wish them well, glad for wherever they go in their life, but like you guys have seen it through. And that really isn't a remarkable thing. It's a great life. Sometimes it's glorious some days, and it's a little hard other days. And you know what? Some days there's a lot of it's boring a lot of days too, right? So anyway, congratulations, and we're better for your life among us. 7 years ago, I left the local church. And of course, I work for the foundation now, so I'm not retired, but some changes happened to me that maybe I can relate to and would relate to you as well, that happened in my life. And many of them are probably things you've thought about, but just a quick walk through some things that happened to me. Obviously, when I left the local church, I didn't have any more Sunday responsibilities, right? Your responsibility world changes so dramatically. There was this amazing thing called weekends, which quite honestly, I never knew, right? There was this amazing thing called Christmas Eve, which I didn't have any idea that this is what happened in the world, you know. Weekends. Now I know why people didn't come to church on the weekends. They got to go do something with people. So there's all of that stuff, which all of a sudden, like, I think I knew up here, but I didn't know in here. I used to say that I still say for 40 years, Sunday's coming. It's Monday morning and Sunday's coming, right? It's Tuesday night and Sunday's coming. And so your whole world is built on, I have to prepare for Sunday. And even when I had vacations, I always felt like I still had to prepare for the Sunday that I wasn't going to be there. So that whole world of Sunday's coming went away, and it was, for me, mostly good, but boy, it's a vacuum. And so I just say to you, enjoy your weekends. You'll get more sleep. Good thing. Maybe a chance to travel. you'll see perhaps a change in your income, right? And you'll have to think about that. And I know some people whose incomes went up when they got out because of the way they had saved and invested and retired. So good luck in those adjustments. You'll have to find, maybe you won't, so maybe just self-disclosure. I had to find a way to feed my faith that wasn't just my work in the church. So my best growth tool was my own job. Like it's people asked me when I left the local church, what do you miss? And I only missed two things. I mean, I always say I missed the locker room. You know what I mean by the locker room? It's like I missed the staff and the key leaders of the church that are in and out of the church all week and you're hanging around with and you're having fun with and you walk with them. But I didn't miss preaching. I missed sermon preparation. Like it was those hours for me where I learned, where ideas came together, where I was trying to articulate what it was I felt like God was telling me. All that made me grow a lot. It made me grow a lot. Bible studies, obviously I had to study, made me grow a lot, right? If I have any emotional bandwidth, and people might have some question about whether I have much emotional bandwidth, but all emotional bandwidth I had was because I was kind of forced to do that and being up against people's lives. And it made me grow that side of myself. Probably I'm a better prayer because I had to pray. I felt like I'm the leader of the church. I should be praying. But all those were gone. And now, I don't have to do that anymore. I had to figure out what I was going to do for a church. And quite honestly, for the first year or more, I just wandered around. I just went to this place, went to that place, went to the other place. Listen, we all have friends who don't go anymore. Like it just beat them up enough. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They were just tired and they were tired of the system of it and the rat race of it. And so some people just take a break, which okay. But find a home. Engage in some community groups in some way. Book studies, lectures, I don't know, things that you like to do that because that pocket of time is not with you anymore. There are so many nonprofits. There's so many people out there doing good work. They can use your leadership. Go sit on the board, go serve on one of their subcommittees, do something in that way. That will be good. Go on a work team. I went on a work team last year to Guatemala. I had no idea that I had gotten that old. About the second day, I thought, oh my gosh, we always use that expression for men. I'm not the man I used to be. I woke up one morning and said, I am absolutely not anymore that guy, that could do that. I would say you might want or need to invest in a good counselor if you're getting cranky or if you're not yourself. And it's probably going to be your spouse that's going to tell you that because there's grief. I miss the local church in a lot of ways. I don't miss it in a lot of ways, but the ways that I miss it cause me some grief. There's sadness. That's something that I'm not going to get back. As I told you, I miss the team. I don't miss the difficult emails, but for me, And this I don't know what point it's healthy or unhealthy, but for me, of course, my call was just a big part of my identity, right? And I got a lot of affirmation by being a pastor. You know, people are like, that's good. Hey, great sermon. Hey, good job. I mean, people made me feel good about my life and my work at the church. And a lot of that is not there now either. And so there's some grief about that as I, try to find the people who are going to pat me on the back. I know because the foundation relates to a lot of things with retired people. Like we show up at these events, but we do other things too. A lot of people who retire feel very cut off from the conference. It's the feeling, I think, is almost immediate. And so, you may or may not be on email chains anymore. You may be or may not be this. And I think, we see a lot of retired people, and some of it had to do with a lot of people who are retired were part of one conference or another many years ago. And now all of a sudden there's this thing and they don't even know anybody, right? And all of a sudden, everybody who comes, you won't know them. And every time there's a change at the conference office, you won't know what that change is. And there's a sense of isolation, I think, for a lot of people. I think they find friends with each other, which is really, really good. But I would say that you can, if it's important to you, you'll have to do the work now. Like the conference does the work while you're active. But like I used to be the pastor at Zionsville. And so some of you people would know there's a pastor at Zionsville named Jim Gentry, retired pastor. And Jim was a go everywhere guy the whole time he was a pastor. I mean, he was every time he turned up, Jim was there. But when Jim retired, he served on the board of the youth home. He served on the board of the foundation, very active in his local church, serving. I mean, he'll wipe up after the donuts and he'll also show up at a staff parish meeting if somebody asks. But he also stayed involved in the conference for a long time. He found ways to pick up the phone and get him involved because it mattered to him. And so in some ways, Jim was able to keep that relationship, but he had to do the work. Does that make sense? Like he had to do the work. So if that is something, you'll have to do the work. You will see a change in your giving patterns. Only you may give more, you may give less, but it may change where you give and how you think about that. To be quite honest, that was kind of freeing in a sense for me. You're there. I mean, I was always one of the strongest givers in any church I was ever in. I never gave the most of any church I was in, but I would say relative to what I was paid, I was probably pound for pound one of the very, very strong givers in the church. And all of a sudden, I didn't have to do that anymore and nobody would know anymore. And you're going to be, well, you may not be. Let me just say, you can be tempted to reduce that, right? You can be tempted to be a little less generous because there's not the level, I guess, maybe of accountability or something like that. You may have to give less depending on your income. But the great thing is that you'll be able to think about your giving in different ways, which is really cool. So, I have a church home now and I give to them, but I give a lot more now to things that I also care about. So I know I was part of helping someone start a brand new mission to girls in Africa. So I got, I felt like I could say to the person, you can count on me for $1,000 a year for the next 3 years or something like that. That's a very cool thing where I don't know that I would have made that same statement if I'd have been in the local church in the same way, because it absorbed more than, and than I would have done, I guess, with them. I've always supported Mission Guatemala, which some of you know. That has been important to me from the first day that it started, but quite honestly, now I can do more. Yeah, so those kind of things are very, very cool, and you can enjoy giving as much or more than you do now. And so I know that I hopefully, and I can have a conversation with you in the back. You have a will. If you don't have a will, or you don't have any estate plan, just start. Well, don't start right now because you got to be in this meeting, but like you could start tonight. I mean, it's very important. But anyway, as a peace of mind, I have an IRA retirement account that's in addition to this that I have put into. And so I decided that the churches that I have served are each going to be a beneficiary in some amount of that. So, but anyway, I called each of those churches just to let somebody know, like, this is, I'm going to, if I would pass away, you're going to get something. If I pass away sooner, you'll get more because I won't be using it up. Pass away later, you'll get less, which of course prompted one guy to say, well, we're not really, saying anything, but like, you could do us a favor, so there's all of these things that you can think about. Now, to the foundation. We certainly could potentially help, depending on what you want to do with your giving stuff. We house and hold what are called donor advised funds, DAF. They call them DAFs. But a donor advised fund is essentially a savings account for giving. In other words, you put money in an account and you may be 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then you advise us, I want this money to go to this nonprofit or this charity. And then we send them a check. We have a lot of people who have DAFs with us. Why? Because it gives them flexibility in their giving. It allows them to perhaps front load or back load in some way for tax purposes. You could put a lot in there 1 year and take the tax break, and then you can just give out of it. So that's a possibility to think about. We have pastors who have those. Endowments. You may want to start an endowment in your name or your family's name or in the name of somebody important to you. An endowment is a gift you make. You may want to save it up and give us a gift. It takes a $10,000 minimum to have an endowment. What is an endowment? An endowment is where an amount of money is held in perpetuity, but the earnings from it go to something that you want. So it is a gift of permanent giving, I guess I would say. So even after you're gone, that endowment will be giving. So you can create endowments. You can do charitable gift annuities. What's a charitable gift annuity? You give any financial company, but like in our case, the foundation, you give an amount of money. We turn around and give you money back for the rest of your life. That's what the annuity is. When you pass, if there's still money left in the annuity, what's left in the annuity passes to the charity of your choice. So a lot of people very much like those because they need the income now, but they want to be generous. So your rates of return on those are based on your age. I think they used to be based on age and sex. They may still be that way, or age and gender. So for instance, if my memory serves me, if you were, I'm just thinking of something I saw a year or two ago. If you of us were a 75-year-old woman and you set up a charitable gift annuity for $50,000, immediately you get a nearly $20,000 tax break that year. And then you're going to get 7 7.5% return, which is very strong. And of that, each year it changes, but of that first year, then probably you're going to get 80% of that is going to be not taxable. Okay, so it's a giving vehicle that allows you to receive income now, and then when you're gone, the rest goes to where you want it to go. Okay, so a lot of people like those. Those are very popular. So that's how we help with giving. Finally, we are somewhat related as the Heartland Foundation to our retirees. We hold a large amount of funds that we use the earnings from to help retirees. We have used it to help retiree healthcare. So when you're at annual conference every year, my boss, who is Monet Shettle, who isn't here today because she is currently in Australia getting ready to go to New Zealand. How about that? Isn't that a good life? She hands the conference. She comes up to the microphone, does her shtick about what the foundation does, but then she gives the conference $220,000, $230,000, $250,000 every year. So that goes for healthcare, right? To reduce the healthcare burden for retirees. So we have a large fund there. We have emergency funds for retirees. So this may or may not apply to you, but it might apply to somebody that you know. Sometimes people that you know who are retired pastors, I should say, not just any retiree, they're going to come up against something hard, something difficult, and they may need some financial help. So probably in the last 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 times, we've helped people buy hearing aids. They just didn't have the money to spend the thousands of dollars that it takes to have hearing aids. Not that long ago, we helped someone who maybe everybody in this room would know, lovely person who needed some help as they were transitioning housing, right? And they were moving into retirement community, and we were able to help. You know, we had someone who unfortunately fell and had essentially changed their life, and they had to get out of a house, and they need a little help to recarpet and clean up the house and paint it so that the house could be sold, and we were able to help. So we're there. We're there if you need it. Not just if you want it, but if you need it. And just keep your ear to the ground if other people need it, because sometimes that's how it comes to us. All right. We host the luncheon at annual conference. Probably some of you will be there this year. So we will enjoy seeing you, which is not just for the people retiring this year, but it's for all retirees. So that's a nice event. The bishop's going to show up this year. So that's something that typically doesn't happen. So that'll be great. We sponsor a lunch each fall. We go north, central, and south in Indiana, just in case you come and you meet old friends. And so we do that. We've been putting together again what we call Breakfast with the Bishop. We started that in COVID. So it was a Zoom call at about 10 in the morning. So we didn't supply your breakfast. You just had to get your Fruit Loops out and put them in a bowl and enjoy that time. But that was very nice too. And I would say if those opportunities pop up, take advantage of them, partly because it's not just a chance for you to sort of be on a Zoom and hear what the bishop says, but you know, let me just go back to the first couple ones that we did. We had about 15, 20 people on a breakfast with the bishop. And because it wasn't a large group, people just had time to say, hey, this is who I am. This is, you know, I've been retired 5 years. You know, I live wherever, Fort Wayne. But I'm still doing this. And almost everybody was engaged in some kind of ministry, right? Hey, I started this thing. Hey, I'm doing this. Hey, I'm doing this mission thing. I'm involved in the, right? And when it was over, the bishop called me and said, you know, that fed my soul like nothing that I've had in 6 months around here. Like, these are the people, there's nothing at stake. They don't have to suck up to me. He didn't say that, but you know what I'm saying. But like, here are these people whose ministry didn't end when their career part ended. And so if you get a chance, please get on with them too. That's really all I wanted to say, just some polite vaporings here. Thank you for listening to me. And again, proud of you, proud of you. And prayers are with you. And I'm going to enjoy hanging out here and listening to the information again this year because, man, my time's coming soon. Thanks.
That way. Oh, shoot.
You're looking for sharing on the device, right?
Hello, everyone. We got a little technical difficulty here. Get through it here.
We'll actually go through the slides one by one.
We will. We will. Slide beginning. It's good up there.
And then
That. I think we're good. I think we are good.
perfect. So I'm going to introduce you to Cheryl Hatcher. She's a benefit educator at Wespath and a senior benefits.
Senior benefit plan specialist, multiple hats that I wear here at.
Talents.
Well, yeah, well, I like to wear different crowns, so that's what I like to say. Crowns for myself. And then, of course, we have Todd Crevison here, benefit educator, we will be presenting back and forth. So we do have people online, and if you have questions, please feel free to put those in the Q&A box that we have out there. What else do we have? Q&A, and then we are recording this. So we will break it up into segments. So we will provide this to Angela and Pamela so that you guys can actually review it and go over it. And in case you missed anything, you just want to be able to see the information again or hear the information again, we will provide links for you. And that will be for the various different speakers that we have as well. And with that in mind, yes.
Medicare.
Medicare.
Very good.
Yes. Yes. You sound so much deeper with the microphone. Yes. So do you want to go through that time frame again for people who maybe didn't hear it online?
Sure. We will, Cheryl and I will split the slide deck between now and 10:45 a.m. And then Bruce Miller will come in and talk about Medicare from 10:45 until noon today. Lunch at noon to 1. And then Charo Boyd will be with us virtually to talk about Social Security from 1 o'clock until 2. 2 to 2:15, we'll take a break. And then it's all Wespath until about 9 o'clock tonight.
That's right. Wespath finishes up.
No
That's
takers? We should be done by about 3:30.
Yes, that's our goal. We're going to
Eastern time.
Eastern time, exactly. Yeah, we're both from Central, so our office is in Glenview, Illinois. I actually live in Kenosha, Wisconsin, but Todd actually lives in, is it Westchester?
Westchester.
Illinois. So that's where we're from. That's where we're at. So we are going to discuss today, today's agenda is, let's talk about retirement. So whether you're going to be retiring this year or possibly in the next few years, we're going to talk about what the actual process is. It's not too hard of a process, but we're going to walk you through it. If you take nothing away from today's seminar and webinar that you're seeing, just know that you have people here to help you, okay? You have people in your corner to walk you through each and every step of the way. Go through the process, the retirement plans, all of them that we have, the life stage retirement income. Todd's going to talk all about that and what kind of advantages it is for that. Housing allowance exclusion. Boy, do I wish I could take advantage of this. But it's a wonderful tax savings, tax advantage for clergy. And we'll go through what that is and how it is a little bit different in retirement. And then all of the participant resources that are available out there. So again, you've got people to help you. Let's talk about some of those common questions that you may have regarding retiring. Is now the right time? Or maybe should I wait? Things for you to think about. That's why you're here. You're thinking about retirement, maybe, now or in the future. And you want to think about, do I have, am I ready? Or is my spouse ready? That might be one of the more important questions. Is my spouse ready for me to actually retire? So different things for you to think about on your retirement journey. Will I have enough income? Of course, that's another reason why you're here. Will I have enough income? All the money that you've been saving up during the course of the years while you've been ministering or while you've been working for the conference or for the church, will I have enough money to actually retire? Once you are no longer an active employee, are you going to have enough money for salary in retirement? So that is why you're here as well. Where are you going to live? If you're in a parsonage right now, maybe this is going to be the first time you're actually buying a home or going to rent a home. Where is that going to be? Is it going to be where you are now? Is it going to be maybe moving and going toward some friends or family? So that's definitely a consideration for you to think about. What are you going to do with your time? We heard some great information as far as what people do after you actually stop working on that Sunday. What are you going to be doing? Is this going to be the time where you're going to take up golf? Or is this going to be when you're fishing? Or whatever you want to do is spend time with the grandkids. So think about what you're going to be doing, and because that will help make your days go by faster. Now, when we talk through the retirement process, we want to talk through the actual provisions of retirement based on the Book of Discipline. There are 4 of them. The first one is what we consider normal retirement, and that is actually at age 65 or if you have 40 years of service. Now, again, for lay people, this is mainly geared toward clergy, so just wanted to let you know that. But the key word here is or. You don't need to have both 65 and no, it's or 40 years or age 65. Then we have another one, which is based on early retirement, which is at age 62 or 30 years of service. The other one is a mandatory retirement, and that is actually at age 72. So you do need to retire as of that age. And then there is the 4th one where we have a 20-year retirement, and that's a voluntary with actually 20 years of service. So based on these book discipline types of retirement, these are what we have available for you. Now that we've gone through all of the different provisions that are out there, we're going to talk through the actual retirement process. So again, anybody online, feel free to put something in the Q&A. Otherwise, here in the house, feel free to just put your hands up. Say, hey, I've got a question now, and we will stop the presentation, because if you ask more questions, it's going to make us more interesting. All right, let's go through that retirement process. So there is a checklist that we like to go through. In your packet of information, there is a retirement checklist. And it's something that Wespath had created because it's something that we received feedback from everyone saying, hey, how do we go through and what do we need to do when? So we did create the checklist. And one of the first things you want to do is, of course, register for benefits access. We'll talk a little bit more about benefit access, but that is the road that you go through to actually sign up for your benefits. You also want to make sure you verify all of your personal information. Make sure that information is correct, your name, social, date of birth, your address. Make sure that's all updated appropriately because that information can actually affect the benefits that you are going to be receiving. With that in mind, you also want to confirm your spouse's information is correct as well, if there is a spouse. Reason for that is based on that information, those benefits that you're receiving can actually affect the benefits as well. Check that clergy service record. So in your packet of information that you have here in the room, there is a clergy service record, or for lay, you've got employee service record. For folks online, Todd was wonderful and actually had that information emailed out to you. So everybody should have received it via email as well. But in the room, we've got your packets here. So make sure that that clergy service record is correct. If there are any updates that you see that maybe need to happen, feel free to contact Angela or Pamela in the conference office and they can work with you to make sure that's updated before those benefits are actually commenced. One other thing that I like to talk about is verifying your beneficiaries. Whenever I have a consultation, I always make sure that the person's beneficiaries are up to date. When you pass or your spouse passes, that information in our system, we need to be able to contact your beneficiaries. So if kids are your beneficiaries, sometimes they like to move or change their phone number. So just go in there at least, whenever you can, maybe once a year, and just verify that information is updated appropriately. Another factor, so as I mentioned, the road to retirement is actually through benefits access. So benefits access, you can access that by going to wespath.org. And in the upper right-hand corner, there's a button saying benefits access. You can click on that button and that gets you right in there. And you'll see a little bit of that information on the right-hand side of the screen there. Again, that's where you go to verify your information. We'll explore the life stage retirement income, and Todd will talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. And again, this is where you actually elect your benefits, whether it's this year or in the years following when you actually do retire. If you're retiring as of July 1st of this year, you do need to have those elections in by the day before. So June 30th at 3 p.m. Central or 4 Eastern. All right. So anybody who is retiring in, this year, the day before, you need to have your elections in by. Okay. And for lay, when you retire, then you can actually, once you retire, you have that in the retirement status, then you can actually choose your elections. Okay. If you have any questions, again, this lovely team of people can actually help with any questions that you may have. So these people, they're part of our customer service team and they are part of our retirement team. Contact them with any questions you have, or if you're not able or don't feel comfortable going through the election process yourself online, they can actually help you with that as well. So again, you've got people who are here to help you through that process. We want you to be able to understand all of your sources of income. So we're going to talk through all of the retirement plans that we have available. And that would be the Clergy Retirement Security Program, or what we call the CRSP. We'll also go through the Ministerial Pension Plan. Todd's going to talk a little bit more about that. We don't have anybody currently in the pre-82 plan, so we'll just give a little bit of a hint on that, but that was prior to any benefits prior to 1982. Also, you want to think about if you had any participation in the UMPIP, that might be for lay. So the UMPIP, we'll talk a little bit more about that. And think about your spouse's income as well. So all the information we're giving you is regarding Wespath, but then you want to think about your whole household and all the money that you have there and how that will all contribute to you in retirement. And let's talk about Social Security. So if you thought about, when you're going to sign up for Social Security, we will have Social Security here. Todd will talk about it via as well. But if you don't know how much you could actually be receiving for Social Security, we highly encourage you to go out to create an account at My Social Security account at ssa.gov. Out there, you're going to see all of your employment history from when you first started. So for mine, it was when I started being a parking lot attendant when I was at 16 years old, all the way through where I am now. And you can see the progression of how much you've progressed over the years. In there, there will also be information regarding how much you are eligible to receive as of your full retirement age or your FRA. Right? And that information would be very helpful when you actually are signing up for your life stage benefits if you chose to go that route. Okay, more on that as examples will be later on. Okay, so now we want to make sure that you are covered properly, and we're going to talk through all of the Wespath retirement plans. So, any questions so far? Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the retirement plans. All looking good? I haven't started boring you yet? That is correct. So you don't have to wait until retirement to actually set up. It depends on your age, of course. So if you're 65 or depending on your full retirement age, you can sign up for it at that time. And then there's also the Medicare piece of it. But yes, you can sign up early for Social Security as well. I think as early as 62. Yeah, you don't have to sign up. I actually signed up for it just during one of these webinars that Todd was actually talking through, and I signed up for it right there, and just so that you can get that information. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, I've been told that you could sign up. Somebody as young as 18 can sign up for that ssa.gov. We could check with Charo today.
Yes.
But I had my 20-year-old son and my 23-year-old daughter a couple of years ago sign up for their accounts. So, and they were around that age. So they were able to see what they hadn't earned yet.
Yeah. Correct. And it's good to actually look at those from time to time because you can see if there's any change or difference in that in what you should have been reported. So yes, always a good thing to check that. Okay. All right, now let's get into the Wespath retirement plans. We want to keep you covered and keep you nice and dry during this season that it could be kind of rainy, but we're going to keep you dry. We're going to go through the actual latest plan that we are in right now, which is the CRSP, or Clergy Retirement Security Program. This plan that you're currently in has two components to it. One is your defined benefit and one is your defined contribution. Those two added together are what make up the CRSP. I'm going to go through the defined benefit first, and then I'll go through the defined contribution. The defined benefit can be just a little bit, I don't want to say complicated, but there's just some math that's involved with that. So let's go through the defined benefit first. And what I wanted to mention is that defined benefit is not a balance. You're not going to see this on your quarterly statement. This is actually a formula, and we are going to be calculating three numbers together. The first that we'll be looking at is the denominational average compensation, or DAC. At Wespath, we love our acronyms, so there's going to be a lot of them. And if I don't actually mention what they are, call me on it, okay? So the first is the DAC. We're then going to multiply that by a factor. And that factor is either 1.25% or 1%. And I'll tell you the reason why that change happened. We'll then multiply by the credited service during that period of time. All right. I will be giving an example on this. But again, if you have questions along the way, let me know. So first of all, what is that denominational average compensation? It's honestly just the average plan compensation for clergy serving full-time appointments. And that's the average. Over the last few years, the denominational average compensation was around $78,024. In 25, it went for this year, it's gone up to $80,003. And then because of General Conference in 2024, it was instituted that the DAC is going to be increased by 2% each year. So everyone was going to know how much that DAC is going to be going forward. So we know that for 26 is actually going to be 81,603. So 2% onto the $80,003 comes up to 81,603. Todd and I actually did the math last night and said, yep, that's the one. So the DAC is an average, and then that average is what we've utilized. And then starting in 25, then it's gone up. It's going to be going up 2% each year. We're going to put it up by 2%, no matter what.
Yes, and that resolution was passed because the worry of having the DAC decline should disaffiliations and changes continue. So with the increase in 2%, it's call it mandatory. That's what will happen each year.
Correct.
So if you're in CRSP right now and you retire in 2031, that means that you'll have the 2031 DAC, which has gone up 2%. Technically, the last time Wespath calculated the DAC, doing the math, all the salaries at the top of the equation, the bottom of the equation, the number of full-time clergy, that math was $80,003.
Correct.
Beginning in 26, it's easy. We just multiply it by 1.02.
Right.
And all that's taken care of.
Yes. Perfect. Great questions. So after the DAC, then we have what's called.
Cheryl, we have a question, and I'm getting over there with the mic.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
So I'm retiring this year. Does that number remain consistent, or does it also increase, in retirement?
It will be the number in retirement. So for you retiring this year, it's going to be the $80,003. Okay. Yes.
Correct. And that'll be $80,003. What will change is with your payment will be the COLA that you select, or the
Correct.
cost of living adjustment.
Yes. And the COLA, and the example of that will be during Todd's presentation when he goes through the MPP, because that also applies to the CRSP as well. Okay. Great questions. The second component that we multiply together is the factor. Now, when CRSP started in January of 2007, in General Conference of 2012, it was decided that that factor that was originally created of 1.25% needed to come down to 1% just to help sustain the longevity of the plan. So that's why that there is a change from 1.25% down to 1%. Whenever you see your benefit projections, you're going to see two line items on the defined contribution toward the top of the projection. That's why there's two line items there to calculate the difference between the 1.25% and the 1%. This example is showing someone who is retiring as of July 1st of 2025. So that's why we have this, date of June 30th of 2025. Now, that's also going to go toward the credited service. Now, the credited service is just that time frame between these two different time periods. So for that first time period with that 1.25% factor, that time frame is 7 years if you were full time. And then it's 11 and a half years for that second time frame. Again, someone who's retiring as of July 1st. Now that we have all these numbers, we just need to do some math. All right. It's really not that bad. It's not too bad. So as we're looking at the first example on the left-hand side, for the service time period from January 1st of 2007 through December 31st of 2013, we take that DAC number, the $80,003, we multiply that by the factor of 1.25%, or in this case, it equates out to 0.0125. We multiply that by 7 years, as that's the time frame during that specific time period. We come up with an amount of $7,000. Just winds up being a nice even number. That is an annual benefit. We pay benefits monthly, so we need to divide that amount by 12. And then we come up with the $583 per month amount. But that's not it. That's not all. But wait, there's more. We then multiply and then do the same calculation for that second time frame from January 1st of 2014 through June 30th of 2025, again, assuming you're retiring July 1st. That same DAC number is being utilized, $80,003, multiplied by 1% or 0.01. Multiply that by 11 and a half years. Again, we come up with $9,200, and that's an annual amount. Divide that by 12 and come up with $767. When you add those two numbers together, you get your base CRSP benefit of $1,350. All right. Now, is this what everybody's going to get? No. There are factors that can actually impact your retirement income, and I'm going to go through some of those. Do you have a surviving spouse? Do you want that as part of the benefit? That can actually impact your initial monthly benefit. How much is your cost of living? How much do you want? For CRSP, you have choices, and those choices are going to be from 2, 3, 4, or 5%. So if you choose a higher COLA or cost of living adjustment, your initial monthly benefit is going to be lower. So, and Todd will go through an example and you'll see a nice graph where showing where all those lines intersect. Are you choosing early retirement? So in that book of discipline, if you choose early retirement as of maybe 62 or 30 years of service, then your initial monthly benefit can be lower as well. When we talk about the life and surviving spouse benefit, what I want you to remember is the clergy person is always life. Okay, clergy equals life. The spouse, surviving spouse, is going to be the percentage. Again, Todd will talk through a example with the life and surviving spouse benefits, but remember, clergy equals life, surviving spouse or contingent annuitant is your percentage. So we have 3 different percentages here. For your cost of living, your COLA, the minimum that we have on our projections is 2%. But if you want to think of something higher, you want to actually consider your age and your spouse's age. My husband and I are actually the same age, so it actually works out nicely for us. But if there's maybe a 5 or 10-year age gap in there, that can actually have an impact on the benefit as well. Think about your family longevity. My parents are actually 86 and 91. They're still here, still living on their own. So I'm very, very thankful and lucky to have them still around. So I'm hoping that I have that longevity too. So it'll be something that I consider, when I, start taking my benefit later on. Think about your health and your spouse's health, and maybe you want, if you're not in good health now, maybe you want to take more up front, have a higher benefit now to utilize it. But if you have the longevity, maybe you want to have a lower initial monthly benefit because you're going to wind up living to 120. So there's always that as an option. And then any other sources of income that you have. Do you have any other IRAs or something outside, or maybe a spouse's income to consider? So all of that comes into play with this decisions you'll need to make. Now, as I mentioned earlier about if you decide to retire early, this is an example of how this benefit can be affected. So Reverend Wesley, he's decided to take early retirement. Now, this is someone who is, he's actually going to be retiring as of age 63. And this is someone who does not meet that 40-year service rule. Okay, I want to make sure that you're aware of that. That base calculation that we calculated was $1,395. So if we take that amount and he is actually retiring 2 years early. Normal retirement was considered age 65 or 40 years of service. He's retiring a little bit earlier. So he's retiring 2 years earlier than what we would consider normal. In this case, any months you retire prior to age 65, there is a 0.5% of a reduction per month. That equates out to 6% in a year. And this person, since they're retiring early, that's 2 years early, the reduction would be 12%. So we multiply the 12% by the 1395, comes up with 167. Thereby, the reduced benefit would be 1228. I don't want you to think of this as a negative. It's actually you're paying money out longer, so we have to have a little reduced amount up initially because hopefully we'll be paying this out much longer. All right. Does that example make sense?
That might be a typo.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's like, that number didn't seem right. Oh,
The slide decks get used every single week,
1350. Yep.
probably 3-4 times a week. And what we have is version control issues.
Yes. So sorry about that. Thank you very much for catching that. So we will make sure this is updated because, yeah. It's like, wait, that didn't. Correct. Correct.
Yes, and if in that example, if the clergy person was 39 years of service, here's a quiz. So if the clergy person has 39 years of service in this example and is 63, what would the reduction be? So remember, it's 65 years of age or 40 years of service. You'll get the better of the two.
Correct.
So if you're 62 and you have 39 years of service, that's only 1 year early. So that's a 6% reduction.
Correct.
And actually, it's calculated by the month. And I've had clergy say, well, I'm 65 in August, but I'm retiring in July. Is there a reduction? And the answer to that is yes. And some clergy say, ooh, I'll hold off on taking, and I'll take it a full payment in August. So I'll delay. And that's a math equation. That's a math problem, right? And EY, Ernst & Young, can help you understand what a 0.5% reduction looks like forever.
Yep.
No, there's no like.
Correct. Correct. So what we like to help educate everyone on is once you reach age 65, there's no reason to wait on taking the CRSP defined benefit. That money, if you're not taking it as of age 65, then you are foregoing benefits that are actually you're entitled to. You're due them. It does not get any higher if you wait until 66, 72. It does not change because it is a formula benefit.
Interesting concept.
It would. Mm-hmm. Yes. Another question, Todd. Yes. We want to make sure everybody online can hear it as well.
Cheryl wants me to get my steps in today.
Yeah, I want you to get some steps in.
Well, based on what you just said, can you claim that without being retired?
No.
Okay, that's what.
It would be a retirement benefit.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's what I wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yes.
Still active in ministry, you can't claim this until you retire.
Until you
That's
retire.
what-
That is correct. Yes, that is correct. Okay, great questions.
You got people thinking, Cheryl.
I do. I love it. I love it. All right, so that ended up with the defined benefit, DB. Okay, we are now going to go into defined contribution. Any questions online at all, or?
We need to plug this in.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so defined contribution we will now be talking about. That is an account balance program. So the account balance, so if you're contributing at least 1%, then into that, then you're getting a 2% non-match for your contributions. When you take money out, you can either self-manage or actually utilize life stage investment management. And Todd will talk a little bit more about that as we go on. So that was in pre-retirement, but in retirement, you can actually utilize money as a cash distribution, which a lot of our participants actually do. You have option of life stage retirement income, or you can actually tell us how much you would like to take out each month. And that's what we call self-managing. You're also able to roll over that defined contribution over into UMPIP, or you can actually do nothing. You can actually let that money sit on account until the required minimum distribution age, which is either 73 or 75, and that's based on your birth date. I believe it's 1959 is that magic year. Or and anything that's left in your defined contribution account, any remaining balance, I like to say, keep these in buckets. Anything remaining in that bucket will actually be paid to any beneficiaries upon your passing. With the defined benefit, the annuity, that will go to you and your spouse. And then once those two pass, nothing further is paid. With a defined contribution, anything left will go to beneficiaries. Okay. That ends our section on CRSP. So yes, you certainly can. No worries. Oh, I'll take it.
So 2 questions. First,
Yes.
it's really clear when you sign up for your benefits, if you want to delay your RMDs.
Yes.
Like if I don't want to, now let me ask you a question though, follow up on that. Can you take a one-time withdrawal from your account without setting into motion the RMDs?
So if you're in retirement status and you want to
Yes.
take a distribution,
Yes.
you certainly can. So with that in mind, you can certainly take a distribution, or we also have what's called a loan program as well, where you can take money out yourself and then pay yourself back.
Okay,
So
thank
you
you.
can certainly do that. And whether it or not you are commencing benefits or not, you can certainly do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, now Todd's going to come up here and talk about the ministerial pension plan.
Check. Sure, still sharing. So MPP, Ministerial Pension Plan. This is from service from 82 to 96. And what you'll notice is there's some similar features to MPP, similar to CRSP, right? CRSP, Cheryl talked about 2 components, a defined benefit, lifelong monthly benefit. The standard form of benefit for married clergy is a joint annuity, and that would cover 2 lifetimes. Yes. 1982 to 2006. And I think this is the first presentation this year that I've done that doesn't have pre-82 in it, right? Is there anybody in here who has pre-82 service? I looked through the benefit projections and I didn't see it. So I found that to be remarkable. It's not getting shorter though, because we're going to talk about Compass. MPP is an account balance. That means those contributions have been made on your behalf. They're in an account that you own, and you're able to see that in Benefits Access. How often does everybody get into Benefits Access? Once a quarter, once a month, once a week? Who's logged in today? Me too. Good crowd. Okay. So it's an account balance. When you get ready to begin benefits, we call it commencement of benefits. There are two choices that you have with that 65% of MPP. The original choice was that you just annuitize it. You'd pick your annuity for that. As of General Conference 2024, an additional option was added. That resolution was passed, allowing you to move that 65% cash balance into life stage retirement income. Life stage retirement income will then calculate a distribution for you from that balance. Okay. The 35% in either case remains an account balance. So that 35%, you can roll that into your UMPIP and then take a monthly distribution with it. Okay. So it's kind of mimicking CRISP, or I should say CRISP, CRSP is mimicking MPP, right? You've got an annuity like the DB, and then you've got a cash account. And that cash account is there to offer flexibility because you get to decide how much to take, how often, and even how. There's 6 annuity options, 3 single life annuities, and 3 joint annuities. And then with a COLA, you get to choose your cost of living adjustment. And that's the amount your monthly payment goes up each year. With MPP, you can actually pick a 0% COLA. And I'll talk a little bit more about that and why there's a 0% COLA there. So this is the first option. So you can, when you begin that benefit in retirement, it's an account balance, so you don't have to begin at the July 1 that you retire. Let's say you're going to work part-time or you have other assets that you're going to use. Upon Cheryl's advice, you've already started CRSP DB, right? Because we know in retired status that doesn't grow. If you delay taking it in retired status, you're just missing out on income. Okay. The second option is to move that 65% into life stage retirement income. There it's paid in monthly installments. That transfer is final. So that means that you're not able to change it. So there's a couple of decisions that you're going to make that you're not able to change. And that's one of them. Once you decide I'm going to move that 65% into the account balance, you're not able to move it back and annuitize it. Just like you're not able to change your annuity. Life in 70, life in 85, life in 100. Let's say pick life in 100. Oh, I'd like life in 70 instead. After that last business day in June, you're not able to make those changes. Okay. Those are, yes.
So we don't have to annuitize immediately upon retirement if we're not. Is there a deadline after retirement that you do need to either annuitize or not?
Yes, that's the RMD. So is there a deadline to annuitize? Yes, that's your required minimum distribution. At 72, 73, or 75. Since 2018, the government has moved that RMD age back 3 times. So as of Secure Act 2.0, and I have a slide for it. If you're born between 50 and 58, then your RMD is 73. So that means that you'd have to begin your cash distributions as well as the other benefits you have. If it's a defined benefit or the MPP annuity, you would need to make a decision on that by your RMD date. And then as Cheryl mentioned, if you're born in 59 or later, your RMD is 75. Me, I'm 58. I'm holding my bag of popcorn wondering if they're going to push back RMD again, right? It seems like, they haven't done it in a couple of years. It seems like they're ready to do it again. But it is easier to understand because in 2018 and prior, it was 70 and a half. I'm not sure I wanted to do that math myself. But you don't have to either because Wespath is going to keep track of that for you. Okay? And then that 35% remains an account balance. offering that flexibility. The annuities, the defined benefit offers security because you can't outlive that payment. The cash account offers flexibility. We like to have a couple different ways to show it. These are both of the 65% options on the left, and then we have the what you can do with the 35% on the right. Any questions about MPP? All right, there's a quiz later. So this is a table that shows the joint annuities. So these are the annuity types for married clergy. So you're able to pick a joint annuity. You'll notice there's 3 columns. On the far left-hand side, it says annuity type. As Cheryl mentioned, they all start with life. That means they cover the life of the clergy person. The percentage is the amount of the payment that will continue on to the surviving spouse. So the payable to you is where it begins. So if you pick life in 70, your payment would be $1,280. Now, in this example, this is an MPP example. So about a $400,000 account balance and a 2% COLA would yield about a $1,280 life in 70 payment for the clergy person. Clergy person passes away, that spouse would receive $896. That spouse, the surviving spouse, will also receive the cost of living adjustment that you both selected. Sometimes we hear, oh, Todd, that's not enough. My spouse will need more than that. So if you look at life in 85, this is an interesting phenomenon. So life in 85, you'll notice the payment drops $30 for the clergy person, but it goes up about 160 some for the surviving spouse. Life in 100, payment continuity, same payment. So the payment the clergy person receives is the same payment the surviving spouse will receive. When you get into benefits access, and actually the projections that we handed out, married clergy, we always run a life in 70 and a 2% COLA. It's kind of the basic, the beginning, call it the default. But that doesn't mean it fits you best. We can work with you to run another projection and show you what that looks like so it matches what your income needs are, it matches your goals. No 2 retirements are the same. So there's customizable features in this benefit selection process to allow you to customize it to what fits you best. This is $400,000 account balance, 2% COLA, but it's single life annuity. You notice there's 2 boxes, there's 2 columns, it's simpler. On the left-hand side, we still have the annuity type. All 3 begin with life. Life of the clergy person. Life only, $1,442. Highest payment there is, it's covering 1 lifetime. The other 2 are interesting. We have life in 5 years certain and life in 10 years certain. And you could even swap out guarantee instead of that word certain. So life with 5-year guarantee, life with 10-year guarantee. So that means if you pass away within that time frame, that payment will continue to the person you chose for that length of time. So you retire, you pick the life in 5-year, actually, better example, same week, I had 2 clergy say, Todd, I'm picking life in 5 years certain. So, ooh, you sound determined. You sound like you're making an educated decision. Can I ask how come? So, well, I'm helping out my granddaughter. One was helping out a granddaughter, one was helping out a grandson. In college, I want to make sure that my grandson, my granddaughter gets the money should I pass away. So they both picked a life in 5 years certain. Now, life in 5 years certain, you retire at 65, you pass away at 95, wonderful 30-year retirement. You outlive that certain period, so it's a regular single life annuity. That payment would stop upon your death. But if you pass away within that time frame, it continues for that length of years. Does that make sense? So the COLA, MPP, you can pick a 0. And then for both CRSPDB and MPP, 65%, you can pick 2, 3, 4, or 5. Now, why wouldn't you pick a 5? Everybody, 5% is bigger than 2%. So you pick, what's the deal with that, right? Yes, it does. That's perfect. So the reason why everyone might not jump on a 5% COLA is that right out of the gate, it's your lowest monthly payment. So when you begin your benefit with a 5% COLA, it's the lowest benefit. With longevity, though, it provides the highest monthly payment. So real quick graph. Left-hand side, the column, those are monthly payments. Along the bottom is age. The little colorful legend are the percentage or the COLAs that we're going to look at. The default is purple, and that gives about a $1,700 payment, just a little bit under $1,800. If we look at a 5% COLA, that drops it down to about $1,200. But with longevity, and that happens about, 79, you're receiving more than the 2% COLA. But to make up for it, you'll need longevity to get there, right? Very similar to taking Social Security early. So if you take Social Security before your full retirement age, that benefit is reduced. And my boss, Bob, likes to say that's a permanent haircut. You get your COLAs, but you'll always start from that beginning point. There's a 0% COLA, highest monthly payment. Clergy used to pick this because they would delay taking Social Security. So really, they're just swapping their money out, right? Take an MPP 0%, highest monthly payment to start with. We know eventually it'll be the lowest payment because it's not going to go up. But that money up front gave them the ability to delay taking Social Security beyond full retirement age, so they're able to maximize that benefit. That's still an option to this day, but we also have something called a Social Security bridge that I'll cover a little bit later when we talk more about life stage retirement income. That's that distribution management tool available to you at no additional cost. It calculates a payment for you. And then 3 and 4, the John Deere colors, they just slide right in there in order. So in a very orderly fashion. Does that make sense? Highest COLA, 0. I'm sorry. That would make sense, right? That's factually correct. 0% COLA, highest monthly payment, lowest monthly payment right out of the gate. Beginning retirement would be a 5% COLA. What works for you? Let's get in, run some projections and take a look. Now, if you're already set up, do we have anybody retiring this spring in the room? Perfect. So June 1. Yeah, I keep saying spring, but it's, July 1. Okay. You're likely able to go into your account and navigate to where you select those benefits in Benefits Access. When you go through that process of selecting your benefits, you could see real time how those cost of living adjustments impact that initial monthly payment. That's the beauty of using Benefits Access. I couldn't imagine what this process looked like on paper, right? It would be more complicated. It's a very straightforward, easy process now that we're using Benefits Access. Okay. So MPP considerations, it's an account balance. So we don't need to take it right when we retire if we don't need the money. We can delay it until RMD. RMD is personal. It's based on our age, 73 or 75. Grab that popcorn and maybe it'll even change by the time we get there. Review those two options. Have a phone call with EY. What does that look like? So that annuity, you can't beat an annuity 30 years down the road. You're still receiving that payment along with those COLAs. The other side of the coin, 3 months into retirement, you pass away. 3 months later, the spouse passes away. That means 6 months worth of payments were made. That payment would then stop. That benefit isn't transferable to anyone else. Okay. If you take that 65% and move it into life stage, and then with that scenario, 3 months in, you pass, 3 months later, spouse passes, that any remaining balance, account balance, is upon the clergy person's passing is transferred to beneficiaries. So there's the ability to transfer wealth to kids, trusts, other generations. But when it's an account balance, there's a risk of it running out. With the annuity, that risk isn't on you, that risk is on the plan. So it's, you know, even for those who are retiring this July 1, there's still time to kind of work through that and get comfortable with it and figure that out. It was passed last general conference, and I want to say we put that into place end of May, beginning of June. So we actually had clergy in 2024 making that choice. Do I annuitize or do I move it to life stage? Most clergy roll that 35%, that account balance, the 35% account balance into their UMPIP and then take distributions. Another variable with MPP is you could leave the 65% untouched, invested, and then move that 35% into UMPIP and take distributions. Okay, so with MPP, you can leave it until required minimum distribution. You can annuitize it, the 65%. You could move that 65% into life stage. Or you can take that 35% and leave the 65 till RMD. Or at any point short of there. So lots of options with MPP. Any questions? For 82, we don't need to cover. It's another lifetime monthly benefit. And it's calculated based on a formula similar to CRS-PDB. So in about 5 or 6 minutes, I don't see the 1045 person here yet. Do we? Okay. So UMPIP, United Methodist Personal Investment Plan. These are where your contributions are currently going, your contributions from your paycheck. And you get to decide how to make those contributions on a before tax, after tax, or Roth basis, okay? Most clergy are making before tax. And this is the plan for lay. So for the couple lay folks that we have in the audience, this is our plan as well. So this is what we're in. Cheryl and I are also in UMPIP, and you're able to set up a distribution from your UMPIP as a lay person as well. That's what it's designed to do, is replace your income, right? The contribution limits get indexed up a little bit each year, and I'll cover those a little bit. They made those more complicated. They've actually broken it out by age group now, which I'll show in a second. So that's an account balance. Those contributions grow over time. There might be matching contributions if you have that with your employer. The investment options, you basically get to decide how to invest your money. You can use life stage investment management, and that puts that account on autopilot. So it selects the funds that your contributions go in, and it'll do that in active service. And then also in retirement, it will still manage that account balance. The other interesting thing that it does, you've heard the adage, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So it will automatically rebalance your account at the conclusion of each quarter if needed. And if needed, if one sector outgrows the other. So you've got your a profile that shows, are you a conservative investor, moderate investor, or an aggressive investor? And then your benefit commencement, all these little features help to determine that allocation. And if let's say US equities goes up 5% in your account, it will automatically sell that 5% and then redistribute that money into the other account balances. So it'll keep one sector or one fund from overpowering your portfolio. The other option is to self-manage. And that just means that you go in, You check your allocation, you make those changes, and you rebalance as necessary. Here are the contribution limits. So under 50, you can contribute 23,500 in before tax and Roth contributions each year. Between 50 and 59, you can contribute 31,000. That includes 7,500 additional in catch-up contributions. If you're 60 to 63, there's super catch-up. And you can contribute 34,750. Once we hit 64, though, the contribution limit drops back to where we are today at 31,000. So it goes up between 60 and 63, and then comes back down at 64 or older. And you can continue to contribute to your UMPIP account, even if you're working part-time in retirement. The church, the organization would just have to sponsor UMPIP. The two most common types of contributions are Roth and before tax. About 80% of the folks who are in UMPIP are actually contributing on a before tax basis. And a before tax means just that. The money, let's make it easy for Todd. Say you make $1,000 a month. Before tax, 10% contribution. That means that you'll be taxed on $900 instead of $1,000, because that $100 will come off your pay and go into your it will be your contribution. So that portion is not taxed. When you take a distribution in retirement, that distribution is taxed as ordinary income. However, retired clergy have the ability to use the housing allowance exclusion to exclude income that they receive from Wespath. How much? That depends on that year and that worksheet, and we'll actually go through that worksheet in a little bit. Sure.
Only one, with a clergy couple, can only one have the tax benefit?
Yes. And the question is, with the housing allowance exclusion, can you have a housing allowance, two housing allowance exclusions if the couple is both retired clergy? And the answer is no, you can only have one at a time. But that's also another interesting point. The housing allowance exclusion isn't transferable to the spouse unless the spouse is also retired clergy. If they're not, then you'd lose that housing allowance exclusion. That would go away. Roth contributions are a form of after tax. That means that $1,000, I'm going to make a 10% Roth contribution. That means that I'm taxed on $1,000. Let's say now it's $850. I would make that $100 contribution to my Roth account. Is there? Okay. Those contributions grow tax deferred until you take a distribution. The really interesting thing about Roth is that as long as you meet the two criteria in the bottom bullet point, that distribution is tax-free. There's no federal tax. So you need to be at least 59 and a half years of age or older when you take that first distribution. And your first distribution needs to be at least 5 years old. Okay, so it needs to be going to kindergarten. Once you meet that criteria, then those distributions are, there's no federal taxes on them. Are Roth contributions right for you? I'm not qualified to make that judgment, that guidance, but EY can. So EY or Ernst & Young, they're financial planners. They're available via telephone. It's unlimited telephonic financial planning. They'll be able to walk you through that scenario and what that looks for you. Another way to contribute is through rollovers. Rollovers, basically, the IRS allows certain plans to be portable. That means you can take them with you. Your 401k from a prior employer, your 403b, even your 457b, which is a government plan. And a traditional IRA you can roll into UMPIP. If you have more money, you can continue to contribute on an after-tax basis. So if you do pre-tax and Roth, 30,000, then there's catch-up. If you've met those and you still have extra money, let's go to dinner. No, I'm kidding. If you have extra money, you can continue to contribute on an after-tax basis. Up to, I think in 25, it's 71,000. So a very, very large number. We generally tell folks, contribute what you can reasonably afford, and then make a plan to increase that over time. My wife and I have a pact. Each year we get a raise, we increase the respective the contribution to our respective plans by 1%. Over 15 years, you can get used to quite a large contribution to your UMPIP. So we are going to pause at Compass. We'll come back with Compass a little bit later today, and we should have Bruce. He's coming. Should I keep going and doing a little Compass? Okay. I'm being encouraged to continue with Compass. It's our first plan that's not an acronym. It's what we call progress. It's an account balance. So contributions are made on your behalf. They go into your account. You also make contributions from your paycheck. CRSP, remember that slide that Cheryl showed? It was calculated through June 30th of this year, payable July of 25. That was 11 and a half years of service if you're full-time from the beginning of that period until June 30th. So you'll actually, if you are retiring in 2026, you'll have, and you are full-time the entire second service period, that'll be 12. So it'll be 12 years of service. If you were full-time during the first service period, that's 7. So your CRSP service, if full-time that entire time, that would be 19 years, okay? The DAC will continue to grow at 2% in active service. So if you retire in 26, we use the DAC for 26. You retire in 28, we use the DAC in 28. Even if you delay taking the benefits, remember how Cheryl said, the one thing we could say is take that? And that the reason for that is it doesn't grow in retirement. Number of years of service doesn't grow, and we still go back and use the DAC in the year you retire. So that one's easy. Take it if you got it. If you're not retiring for a couple of years, rest assured that DAC is going up 2% per year. So for retired clergy now, there's no impact, there's no change. For active clergy, you keep what you earned. So for those who have service in MPP, it was kind of the service switching from MPP to CRSP. And then in 2012, the General Conference passed reducing the percentage, the factor. Thank you. Reducing the factor. And then that began in 14. Each month with Compass, there'll be 3 kinds of contributions. The first is a flat dollar contribution. That's begins at $150. Each year that'll get indexed up automatically 2% in $5 increments. So that $150 is there to help low-paid clergy. And then in the middle, we have the pay-dependent contribution. That's 3%. It's kind of like what was in CRSP, right? These themes keep coming back, and if we can recognize those, we can get comfortable with them, and we're okay with it. So there's a 3% of compensation each month, 3% of plan comp. And that compensation is based on, base compensation plus 35% housing allowance. That was another change in the plan to make that benefit a little richer. Then there's a matching contribution, and you get dollar for dollar up to 4%. So if you contribute 2% to Compass, they'll match 2%. You put in 3, they put in 3. You put in 6, they put in 4. But the good news is you're contributing more. Contributing more is probably more advantageous. Any questions on that? So for clergy who are retiring in July of 26 and beyond, you'll have some Compass contribution, okay, some Compass experience. In retirement, we're calling it a managed payout. So your Compass account will come out to you in a monthly payment using LifeStage retirement income. Just like if you were to move that 65% of MPP into LifeStage, okay? So that's a managed payout. You also have the ability to choose 2 optional features with LifeStage. And one is a Social Security bridge, and I'll cover that. The other part is purchasing optional longevity income protection. Or it's an annuity you'd actually purchase through Pacific Life. The whale, you've probably seen that commercial. So you'll actually purchase that the day you begin the benefit, but so you'll purchase that the July 1 that you retire. And then it begins at the age of 80. That's guaranteed income. And for married clergy, it's life in 70. But there's no COLA. So there's pros and cons. But don't get anxious. There's still time to work through that. And if you're thinking that way, I would even suggest a conversation with EY. So welcome back, everyone. We have Bruce Muller from Medicare.
Oh, great. Thanks, folks. Glad to be here. Can you hear me okay? You know, when you get those scam phone calls, that's the one thing they want to ask you. Can you hear me? Don't ever say yes, because that's how they turn everything into a way to trick you. Again, I'm with SHIP, which is the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. We are federally funded through Medicare, and we are under the umbrella of the Indiana Department of Insurance. This is part of a national program that each state has and operates their own program. We cover the state with a combination of people who work through different agencies and also volunteers. We have about 250 volunteers around the state who have been trained in Medicare, have ongoing training to tackle the issue. When my wife hears me talking to people, my volunteer counselors, she always asks, why would somebody volunteer for that? Because it's so much work. But we do have a great staff. For me, locally, I have several attorneys. I have a retired insurance agent. I have the former head of the VA, several doctors. So it's a wide variety of people around the state to help you. So the Medicare, of course, is a kind of a complicated issue. And we try to help people navigate that. We are not connected to any insurance companies. So we're not receiving any commission or anything for what we do. And we will help guide you through the process, but we will never say, this is what you should do in your situation. We'll explain everything and hopefully you understand it. And then it's still up to you to decide which way you want to take your Medicare. So again, federally funded, unbiased information, no affiliation with any insurance companies, and it's all free and staffed by almost 400 volunteers now. So it's insurance for people age 65 and older, under 65 on Social Security disability, or any age with end-stage renal disease. So Medicare has four parts. Part A, which is hospital insurance. Part B, which is medical insurance. So we generally talk about that. Hospital as being inpatient, Part B is outpatient. Part C, those are the advantage plans. And that's where you have to decide when you take your Medicare, you want to do what we call original Medicare or an advantage plan. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then also a prescription drug coverage. So your minimum coverage that you do have to have under Medicare is Part A, Part B, and Part D, or other credible drug insurance. You must have original Medicare, Parts A, B, and D, and with that, you should have what we call a Medicare supplement or Medigap. The Part C plan is your Medicare Advantage plan. And again, you have to be enrolled in Part A and B, but your B benefits are provided by the Advantage plan. And most of these plans will include your Part D. Your enrollment period, you have 3 months before you turn 65, the month of, and 3 months after. The HSA Health Savings Account, it can only be used in conjunction with a high deductible health plan. Medicare is not a high deductible health plan. And so you can't have an HSA be contributing to an HSA while you're on Medicare. So you have to stop that 6 months before your contributions to it. That's an IRS issue. And you still have the, whatever amount of money you have in the HSA, of course, that's yours. So you have to schedule some time to discuss your eligibility for HSA contributions with HR around 6 months prior to applying for Medicare. When to enroll? Enrollment period at 65. If you're receiving Social Security, you will automatically be enrolled. There is a general enrollment period, which is going on right now, and that's January 1st through March 31st. And the coverage would begin the next month after applying. If this period is generally for people who have not enrolled on time, and so now they can use this general enrollment period to enroll. And if they did not take it on time, there's a 10% penalty for each 12-month period you are eligible, but didn't apply. You have special enrollment time to sign up for Medicare anytime as long as you and your spouse are working and you're covered by a group health insurance plan, or up to 8 months afterwards. So basically what that's telling you, you can work past 65 as long as you're a member of a group plan, then you don't have to sign up for Medicare yet. So I always tell people, yep, you can work until you're 90. So one of the things that pops up in that situation though is one of the spouses is older and the other spouse is under 65. Then that creates a problem because of the insurance situation. So generally in that case, the younger spouse would have to go on the Affordable Health Care Act until they turn 65. So original Medicare is what we like to call alphabet soup, because we've got all these letters that we like to use. And if they never discontinue any of them, so we just keep adding to the alphabet as we go along. So your Part A, like I mentioned, that's your hospital insurance, is free for most people. Part B premium in 2025 is $185 a month, possibly higher depending on your income. Your Part D, which is your drug plan, this year the average is $36.78 per plan. And then you have your Medicare supplement plan or your Medigap plan that you would purchase when you do original Medicare, and that will cover all the expenses that are not paid by Medicare on Part G. So here's a chart of your yearly incomes. I won't read them all. So if you're $106,000 or less, 212,000 joint, you're going to be at the $185 amount. And then you can see the different pricing as things go up. And obviously, you know, a real heavy earner, $500,000 or above, you're going to be paying that $628. I do get calls from people complaining about that, but I don't understand the complaint when you're in that situation. So the Part A premium, again, your hospital is free for most people because you've paid in FICA tax for over 10 years. Less than 10 years or 40 quarters, it's going to be $518 a month. We don't run into many of those cases. So Part A is going to cover the hospital inpatient care, skilled nursing facility, home health care, and hospice care. Part B is going to cover your diagnostic tests and outpatient therapy and other things like that. You can see all the different things. On original Medicare, you'll pay $185 monthly premium. That'll have a yearly deductible of $257 in 2025. 80% of that's covered by Medicare. The other 20% co-pays for most service. Now, there's no annual cap on that 20% beneficiary that the beneficiary is responsible for. And one of the things about original Medicare is that you can go to any provider that accepts Medicare across the U.S. The Medigap or the supplement plan is something that you really have to have if you're doing original Medicare. There's different plans A through N. Plans are standardized from company to company. Not all companies sell all plans. So if you're looking at the different plans for a Medigap or supplement, you don't have to go to each one and see what they do because they all are going to cover that 20% for something that is approved by Medicare. I've had cases where people don't realize that and they call every company listed and ask what their benefits are. And after about 10 companies, they realize that they're all the same. But basically what that's doing, that's going to cover gaps in original Medicare. These plans are all approved by the Indiana Department of Insurance. Cost and availability may vary state by state. And the only thing that they can ask you during your open enrollment period, your guaranteed issue period, is your age, gender, zip code, and tobacco use. So at the time you sign up for Medicare and you do buy a supplement, you could be in really bad shape and you are treated just like anybody else, any other healthy person. They cannot upcharge you for anything. So that guaranteed period starts when your Part B begins. So you have 6 months enrollment period in order to sign up for that. Effective January 25, anyone under 65 and they're on Medicare because of a disability, they can sign up for a Medigap or supplement plan. But they can't, you can't be turned down for it, but you will find that the premiums are going to be a little bit higher. And insurers may not issue a policy that contains a waiting period or limit on pre-existing conditions. So here's a chart of your various plans. So when you're on a Part B, then you choose your Medigap plan, plans G being the most popular, followed by N. And again, those costs vary by company. But when you do go to the hospital, you know, your payments, you know, so the hospital charges you $100,000 and you're responsible for 20% of that. This is going to take care of that situation. The Medicare Advantage plans, that's an alternative to original Medicare. Again, we call those the Part C plan. These are administered by private insurance companies. Same coverage as original Medicare, different cost. Many plans do include Part D coverage and additional benefits, such as dental, vision, hearing, transportation, gym members. The one important thing to remember with an Advantage plan is that that does have a network. So you have to make sure that your services, your physicians or specialists, or even the hospital is in your plan. I was looking up a plan for someone the other day, and I was surprised to see that for that particular plan, community hospital was not in it. So that's one thing, that's what the big difference. And when you're on original Medicare, you can go across the country, and that supplement plan will follow you across the country. So you just need to go to a doctor that accepts Medicare. If you're on an Advantage plan, then there's a network, and your network, there may not be a doctor in your particular network in someplace else in the country. And if you travel abroad, a supplement and some of the Advantage plans do have some benefits, but I always recommend buying one of the travel insurance plans. I have a friend who had a serious problem occur, and they were exploring the Amazon, and that particular plan that they were on helped them, get back to home base in a hurry. So more people right now are choosing an Advantage plan. It depends on the personal situation. Sometimes it's a cost factor. They're looking at other times, oh, I want the gym membership, so on and so forth. But there's different things to weigh. So the original Medicare, what I tell people is, yes, it will get more expensive as time goes on, but as we get older, our medical needs are either an urgency or an emergency. So with the original Medicare, you just go and have that taken care of with no worry about who's in my plan and who's not in my plan. That you just deal with that. So it's a kind of depends on person's background. Just like you had the financial man coming here, everybody thinks a little bit differently about their financial needs. So this is, you just have to weigh it. It's how you feel. Even your particular health condition comes into play. The one thing I always caution about is, especially if somebody's coming to us and they're just going on Medicare and they have an appointment with one of our counselors, please, before you come in, don't ask all of your friends, relatives, and your dog what they do for Medicare, because everybody's got a different opinion and you will be so confused. Because some people like their Advantage plan, some people don't. Some people are happy with original, some people, aren't. So it just depends on your personal situation. And somebody could be saying they don't like their plan just because the customer service woman didn't answer or man didn't answer the phone on time. So now they, so there's all kinds of things that, come into play in this situation. So, and again, in terms of an Advantage, they do have different costs involved in them. Some of them do have a cost, some of them don't have a cost. And one of the things that does confuse people, they think, oh, there's no cost to my Advantage plan. That doesn't mean that $185 premium on Part B. You still pay that, but sometimes people sign up because they think there's no cost to it because it hasn't been adequately explained to them. Most of them do have drug coverage. And then some of their others, you can bump up maybe for the dental or vision that's in an Advantage plan. But again, all those people have to be in the network. But one of the things I talk about is, say your plan has a $1,200 dental. Well, that doesn't mean you have $1,200 cash in the bank to use, because when you turn in that $300 surface cavity, they might pay you $125 or $150. So that doesn't mean just because you have that money sitting in that account that you're going to, you're going to get it out. So they also have a maximum amount of pocket expense. So once you reach a certain level, maybe it's $4,500 or $5,000, depending on the plan. Once you hit that amount, then everything is covered for the rest of the year. So that's one of the things people use when they're buying a supplement, because there's a time when, they kind of balance out. But someone who comes into Medicare healthy and does not go to the doctor often, they like the Advantage plan, and they assume they will continue healthier in the future.
I was wondering if the term Medicare supplement and Medigap are interchangeable, or is there a definition for
Yeah.
Medigap?
Yeah, that's called the Medigap or the supplement. So going back way in history, when they first started Advantage plans, was really confusing because they called it a supplement. It's not. It's just another way of taking your Medicare. But Medicare and supplement are interchangeable. Also, another person, again, who looks at it, they assume they will continue to be healthy in the future. It's quite an assumption. Financially cannot afford to pay high monthly a premium, which is associated with the original Medicare or a supplement, and willing to stay in a smaller network of doctors and hospitals. So the Part D plan, now that's your pharmaceutical plan, available to all people with Medicare. Now that's a freestanding plan that you take when you do original Medicare. So the Part D coverage, it's additional premium, co-payments and formularies. If you don't take that on time, there's a penalty of 1% per month for every month you're eligible but not enroll. This is provided through the Medicare prescription drug plans and also the Advantage plans. One of the changes this year on the drug plans, it's a maximum $2,000 out-of-pocket expense. So my wife and I appreciate that because she's on Eliquis, which is a couple $100 a month. So it's a maximum. Once you hit that maximum, there, that's it for the year. And one of the other programs they have this year is it's like a credit card where you can balance out the payments. And that's a help for a lot of people. Say they have a $500 deductible at the beginning of the year for their drug plans. They can, at a $600 bill for the drug, they can join this program. And what that will do is just balance it out for equal monthly payments throughout the year. Now, it's not going to save you any money, but it just helps people plan so that they don't have to, pay that deductible and, high drug plan, so that they can balance that out through the year. But there is indeed a $2,000 limit, on the cost of the drugs.
So I'm a little confused, and as you said, it's confusing. I was online plugging in with plans on my prescriptions, and it was saying, I have $6,800 to go. So I'm confused about the 2,000 cap.
I'm not sure what's popping up.
Pardon me?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so it's a 2,000 cap overall, not per drug, it's a 2,000.
Yeah, it's $2,000 for your prescriptions.
Okay.
Now, one of the other things in that, the drug does have to be on your plan's formulary. And sometimes people do use like GoodRx, which for the lower tier drugs, mainly generics, it's not a bad deal, but the higher tier ones, it's not going to work. But those drugs are not going to apply to it. It's only the drugs that are in your plan on their formulary. No, she was asking on a drug plan. The Medigap plan, you pay your premium and you're good to go. And I've never had a case where the Medigap or supplement didn't do what it's supposed to do. So the fall open enrollment period that drives us all nuts because there's so many ads on TV and everything, which I always advise people, please don't call the ads on TV because they don't care one darn bit about you. They just want to sell a policy because they're going to make some money. But if you have a local insurance agent, I always recommend that. And there's many good ones around. And yes, they are on commission, but I was a manufacturer's rep. My whole life I was on commission. And I took pretty darn good care of my accounts because I wanted to make sure that I was welcome back in the store. So just the key is not to get sucked in by these, TV ads and everything and all the Hollywood has-beens, out there pitching Medicare plans. So again, in the fall, you can switch an Advantage plan back to original Medicare. You can switch from original Medicare to an Advantage plan. Pick a new Part D plan. Enroll for a Part D plan for the first time. One of the best things to do is to set up a Medicare online account, because then you can look at your activity, especially if you have a lot of drugs. Because say you want to look at a new drug plan in the fall, you pull up your Medicare account and it's going to list all of your drugs, and all you have to do is delete or add to that and then shop for the, for the new plans. The other thing that when we're talking about the difference between an original Medicare and an Advantage plan is that after that 6-month period, and you want to go back to original, say you're on an Advantage plan, you want to go back to original Medicare, after that guaranteed issue in the 6 months, now that company can underwrite you, meaning that they can look at your health history and see if they want to insure you or not, and at what cost. And it's hard, there's a form to fill out for each individual company, and it's hard to say, when they're going to say yes and when they're going to say no. You may have had cancer, but you've been cancer-free for a number of years. Many times that's not an issue. If you have AFib, that's an issue. But if you had, like me, I've had an aortic valve replacement and a triple bypass, I'm probably not as, I may be able to get that because, I've been fixed and I'm back to normal. But I'm at that age now where I tell people I'm either repairing body parts or replacing body parts. So we're led to believe that, yeah, you can switch. You can always go to an Advantage plan no matter what the situation during the correct enrollment period. But going back to original Medicare is a little bit harder. But when you do go to an Advantage plan, you do have a trial right of a year when you can go back to either original Medicare. Well, you can switch a plan, or you can go back to original Medicare and with no underwriting. And right now we're in the, obviously, January 1st to March 31st situation. You can drop or switch an Advantage plan without drug coverage and return to original Medicare. And I always warn people at this time, if they're shopping, if they think they're shopping for their correct Advantage plan, whether switching from one to another, I always warn them to be careful, because during this time of year, you only get one change. So if you make a change that you're not happy with, you're basically stuck with it for the year. So 30 to 60 days applying for Medicare, you need to contact HR to request the L564. That would be the proof of employer insurance. And this program, or this page, is generally talking about somebody who has worked past their 65th birthday. So we do have the 800 Medicare numbers. We do have the SHIP offices around the state where a trained volunteer can, talk to you and guide you through the process. And many folks, you can do a lot of, this yourself. Many times, people get online and they call me, and we kind of help them guide them through it. Now, I did hand out part of my exercise program. I did hand out a sheet that can help you. If you're looking at an Advantage plan, the one sheet here will guide you through the differences. And then on the back side of the sheet, again, it kind of gives you, again, the differences and the cost involved in the situation. And one of the other thing on the Advantage plan is, depending what kind of plan you choose, there's an HMO and there's a PPO. The HMO is what health maintenance organization. That's much more limited in the physicians and other services that are in it. And when you do go to a specialist, when you're on an HMO, health maintenance organization, and you need to go to a specialist, you do need to have a referral from your primary doctor, where there's also a PPO that you don't have to do that. Some of the large companies do say that they have coverage across the whole country. I would say, I suppose they do. I haven't really had many people that have, gone to wherever and looked for a physician, in whatever particular plan. That's what people like about the original Medicare. You go anywhere as long as the doctor's on on a Medicare doctor and you have a supplement plan, everything's going to be covered. And the other sheet that I put on there is, again, it's talking about somebody who's going to work past 65. That's one of the most common misconceptions that people have about, oh, I have to sign up. I have to sign up. And I always ask people, who told you that you have to sign up? And the most likely answer is, oh, my fellow workers. I said, well, there's your problem. So you have to be careful where you're getting your information from. Even if you're getting information now from AI, so to speak, the lady had talked to Medicare, and because she had the wrong advice, because she got an AI chat somehow, and it wasn't the right advice. So she wanted to have recourse from Medicare, and they said, no, I'm sorry, it has to be only, from one of our representatives or an agent, again, just be careful how you get your advice from Medicare. There you go. When I first started doing this, I told people I'm not a computer whiz and I never will be. And that holds true. So that's kind of an overview, pretty quick overview. It can be pretty confusing, when you start looking at it as to, what's going on. But we do have volunteers and everything can help you through that.
Could you compare, are they roughly the same, the Part D, if you're using original Medicare, as opposed to the drug plans and the Advantage plans? Are they roughly as good?
Well, all the drug plans, whether they're through an Advantage plan or through freestanding, they all have their own formularies.
Okay.
So
Depends.
You've got to look at each one individually.
Okay.
And then also too, if you're shopping for a drug plan online, one of the things that comes into play too is you want to be looking at when you look at the different pharmacies, because you can pull up all the pharmacies that you want to use. And then you'll see there, some are called preferred pharmacies and others are standard. And the preferred pharmacy is the one that's going to give you the better price. But again, each one is really an individual. So you have to check each one individually.
And on the pricing of the supplements, is there any way to ballpark the better letters?
Well, most
How
people,
much they cost?
Yeah, the Plan G, which is what people call the Cadillac plan, and that replaced the F plan a few years ago. You may run across people who are on the F plan from years ago, and that is now discontinued. So those people have rising costs because the pool is shrinking. And I don't understand why they didn't allow people just to switch to the G plan, because by the time people have discovered this, the cost has gone up, astronomically. But the Plan G will cost a little bit more. And that's probably the least problems of any sort. Plan N is probably the runner-up because Plan N does have some copays in it. But after that, it generally does all the same things G does. So people who have good health, have less problems, don't go to the doctor very much, they'll take a look at an N plan because there will be a difference in them. And then some of the plans, you can add a few extras to it depending on the plan. Now, that's one thing. We help people shop for a Medigap or supplement plan, but we can't sign you up for that. But if you're shopping for original Medicare with the Part D or an advancement, we can sign you up for that, but we can help you through it. But then we have to, basically, here, you call the plan and sign up. So they're basically, and again, they're all the same. So one of the things people do is, I don't know about the Royal Order of the Moose Clubs. Medigap plan. I'd rather go on, I don't know, United Healthcare or somebody. But all those plans, if something were to happen where they stop doing business in Indiana, then you have a special enrollment period to shop for a new plan. So there's really no reason not to, I guess I would say, price shop a little bit, because they all have to do the same thing. And again, I've never had somebody call and say, my supplement didn't do what it was supposed to do.
Two quick questions. Well, they may not be quick.
Yeah, be careful saying quick questions.
When do we need to enroll if we're retiring July 1st? How long does it take so we don't have a gap between our conference health insurance
Yeah,
and
well,
Medicare?
yeah, you probably, you want to start before, because you'll have to turn in that paperwork to Social Security that you've had the coverage. But
Okay.
you just want to do it at least a 2 months or a month in advance, because then you can choose the date you want it to kick in, which, you want it to kick in July 1st or August 1st or whatever the case may be.
Okay, sorry, Brian. My other question is, if we plan to move out of state, is that going to affect our Medicare coverage or enrollment?
The one thing, when you get to out of state, the difference between original and Medigap original and Advantage plan is in a situation, because your Advantage plan, those are all set up by counties. So you would have to shop for a new plan and find a new doctor and all that sort of thing. If you're on original Medicare, you do need to check your drug coverage. Generally, that's not a problem, but you should check that. But definitely, you have to prepare yourself for, the Medigap. Excuse me, sorry, the Advantage plan.
Laura, our EY person said that you have a 90-day, you need to sign up for Medicare 90 days before you retire. I don't know if that's correct, but that's what she told us.
Well, that's the beginning. You have 3 months before, the month of, and 3 months after. So maybe that's something with your plan.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, no. Yeah.
so that's a particular situation with the plan.
Engage with. Thank you, Cheryl. So you'll engage with via benefits. You'll first enroll in A and B and D, or A and B, and then you'll get your Medicare number. Then you can work with VIA. And VIA is going to do all the price comparison for you. They're going to help you shop. They don't get paid based on what they have for you. They get paid a salary. Okay. So it's not like they're enriching themselves with this plan more than that plan. They get paid a salary. So they're there to do that customer service, and they will help walk you through those plans, Medigap, the supplement, Advantage. Yeah. They'll and all of the extras that may come with it, hearing aids, fitness center memberships, they're going to explain all that too.
Yeah, that's all in any Advantage plan. They have all that. So that's that's a pretty good deal for you, because you're not using, somebody who's, advising you according to, what they're paid and everything. Yeah.
There's a question in the chat box. Question box. How are dependent children covered in Medicare?
Only if they've been on disability, but there's no Medicare is by the individual. So there's no family plan or anything like that. Okay. So, but you have a great service to use. But if you ever have any other questions too, and because sometimes even a good service, things go wrong, and we have people on staff that we can take care of. Well, we can take care of any Medicare situation I can call Medicare with the proper information. I have a special ID code that I can call Medicare and, help people figure out something that's gone wrong. But if you have a good service like that, that's great. Okay. I'm it. That's it. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm back. No, we need to do slides. All right. So the experience with the UMC has been great. 33 different plan sponsors, represents 9,000 eligible participants, 9,000 retirees. That represented over 1,000 unique insurance plans and using over 100 different carriers. So their name has changed over the years, but they've been in business since 2005, 2006, and we've been working with them since 2012. Oops, their names have changed, but still all great stuff. So this is really what's going to happen when you engage with VIA. First, you need to enroll in Medicare. You need to be enrolled in parts A and B. Once you're in parts A and B, you'll get your Medicare number. That Medicare number will be needed to enter into your VIA account. So once you're enrolled in Medicare, you're able to work with the VIA benefit advisors. And you have a couple different options on how to work with them. First, you could collect all your information, your medicines, your doctor information, and then call them. And they'll enter your medicines, your doctor's information, your information into their system. And then they can search and show you plans that are sortable based on cost, based on access. If you want a Medicare Advantage, that's the Part C. If you want to do a Medigap. So they'll help identify plans for you based on your medical experience. Then if you're ready to choose, they could actually enroll you right then and there. And you haven't lifted a finger to do any paperwork. They can also help you set up your account for automatic reimbursement. So the VIA benefit counselors are licensed in the state that they sell the insurance. They're salaried, so you don't have to worry about that. But they're also there to help you maximize your experience. So if you have a question about an explanation of benefit, or why was a procedure covered that way, or why wasn't it covered this way, they can help you with all those questions. So then once you're enrolled, you'll pay the premiums to the carrier. There'll be an automatic reimbursement request. VIA will check to see if there's a balance on your HRA. And if there's money to cover it, they will then put that money back in your bank account. Okay. So this is the HRA is a health reimbursement arrangement. It's actually an account that Wespath will open up. An Indiana annual conference will actually put in $720 a year to fund that account. That account can then be used for premiums and for services, medicines and doctor's visits. Exactly. Yep. It's like an HSA. It's a health reimbursement account. So you're actually spending from it and then getting reimbursed. As opposed to an HSA, that's a health savings account. You can spend right from there. So you'll just get reimbursed. And I have a couple examples on the reimbursement process later that the benefit advisor can help set up for you. So basics of Medicare, this is what Bruce talked about. It's health insurance for those 65 years of age and older. You may, or some individuals qualify earlier. People with end-stage renal disease or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Easier to say Lou Gehrig's disease. It's administered by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, but the enrollment Part A is actually handled by the Social Security Administration. And when we talk about Medicare, the original is Parts A and B. And so up top, we have original Medicare Parts A and B. And Medicare doesn't cover everything 100%. So that's why they allow you to purchase a Medigap plan or a supplement plan. I'll just refer to that as a Medigap plan. That's how I learned it as opposed to calling it a supplement. But same thing we learned. Or you can select a Medicare Advantage with prescription drug coverage or a Medicare Part C. So you've got two options to fill in those gaps to cover those extra costs. And I'll talk a little bit more about those each. And then there's also additional plans around dental and vision. The dental and vision aren't offered by Social Security, so you can actually enroll in those anytime. But you call via. You can call them up and you're already enrolled. You can call them up and just engage them with, okay, what does this look like? I'm looking for dental coverage. I'm looking for vision coverage. And then for this, to call out the bottom. So these are some of the insurers. We like to show this slide because it has a lot of well-known insurers. Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Express Scripts, Humana. Okay. If they suggest a plan or they offer plans that you haven't ever heard of, you don't have to worry about that because they always make sure that they're vetted and that they're high quality. Okay. So this is the Medicare Advantage. Bruce talked a little bit about this. The Medicare Advantage actually replaces Part A and B and D. So if you go with a Medicare Advantage plan, that company is providing services that are as good or better than Medicare A and B. Most of the time, when you're selecting a Medicare Advantage plan, they come with a prescription drug coverage. And that will be explained to you by the certified benefit advisor. Okay. There's two different kinds of networks with a Medicare Advantage plan. There's an HMO, right? Back, first heard that term in the 70s, that managed care. So an HMO means it's a narrow network. To get coverage, you'll need to go to a doctor in that network. Okay. If you need a specialty visit, you need to see a specialist like an orthopedic, you'll likely also need to get a referral from your primary care in the HMO. Yeah. You can change your plan. The cost may change, but as Bruce said, you're still able to make those changes. And you'll like an annual open enrollment, but it'll be for your Medicare plan. Absolutely, absolutely. And as you go throughout the year, your medical experience might also change. Oh, I no longer have high cholesterol, right? So now I'm off that medicine. Well, that could potentially change what you're using for a drug coverage next year. Or, oh, my cholesterol is high now. Now I'm on a cholesterol med. You should add that into your account so that when it comes time to choose, you have all that information already there. The other option is a preferred provider organization or PPO. The PPO will have out-of-network benefits, but you'll get the most coverage in-network. And with the Medicare Advantage plan, these plans typically have low premiums and you'll pay more when you use coverage. And they typically also focus on preventative care. So if you're healthy, you'll likely spend less on a Medicare Advantage plan. There may also be supplemental benefits within the Medicare Advantage plan, and that could include dental, vision, or hearing aids. And you'll be able to talk about those supplemental benefits with your benefit advisor with VIA. The Medigap plan fills in parts A and B. So you'll maintain original Medicare, parts A and B. The Medigap plan fills in the coverage, and you'll also need to pick a drug plan. And that offers you ultimate flexibility because you're able to hone in on plans that focus on your medicines and the doctors that you see to put them in the lower payment tiers. So there's less out of pocket for you. And Bruce talked about all the plans are the same. And typically each state, or 47 states, have lettered Medigap plans, all single letter, and they go A through H, although I can't see them because I have my glasses off. G is the new Cadillac plan. He mentioned F. Didn't he say F went away? Yeah, they gave me a slide that still has F though. Okay. Yeah. So that has, you'll see that Medicare G pretty much covers everything, or actually Medicare F covers everything. And it'll after you meet the deductibles. But since these are all the same, the insurance companies are competing on price, not on what's covered, because they're all the same. So a lower price on one doesn't mean that it's been gutted. They're just competing on price. So here are the prescription drug tier copays. There's 5, and typically all the plans operate this way. Each plan has its own formulary, and a formulary is just a fancy word for saying, those are the medicines we cover. Okay, so it's important to get the medicines that you take on a regular basis in the lower tiers, because the lower the tier, the lower it costs. So tier 1 is a preferred generic, then price goes up a little bit to non-generic preferred, non-preferred generic, that's tier 2, preferred brand, non-preferred brand, and then specialty drugs are the most expensive, and that's tier 5. So when you're working with the VIA benefit advisor, they're going to look at all your medicines and find plans where your medicines are landing in 1 and 2, as opposed to 4 and 5. And then this is some of the best news ever. When I saw this, putting together this slide deck, I sent it back to VIA to say, is this true? They talked about the donut hole going away. I have the slide for 2024. I won't show it. But the out-of-pocket's a lot more than $2,000. So this resets each year. So January 1, you start at 0. So you'll pay the deductible, that's up to $590. Once you're between $591 and $1,099, you'll have copays for those medicines. And then once you reach $2,000 out of pocket for your medicines, there's no additional cost. That is huge. I'm 7-8 years away from retiring. When I saw that, I was happy. I thought, that's a really positive change. Previously, it was up with the out of pocket. It was upwards of $8,000-9,000 in 23. In 24, when you reached that amount, you were still paying. No, in 23, you were $8,000-9,000. You still had a copay. It was a small copay, but it was like $5, $10, $20. It was a percentage based off of the medicine. In 24, wonderful change. Once you got into that catastrophic coverage, there was no additional costs, but I want to say you're paying at least $4,000. So in 2025, it's even better. Your out of pocket is $2,000 for medicines. And this is a graph of what Bruce was talking about on when to enroll. And you'd want to enroll early in the process, and you'll be able to enroll in Medicare up to 3 months before your birthday month. So let's say this is June. My birthday month is June, May, April, March. So that means I can go to Medicare and I can enroll in A and B so that I can work with VIA, right? And the reason to go and begin working with VIA in the third month or 3 months before is that will be plenty of time for your plan to get put in place so that when you lose coverage, in this example, July 1, I'll be covered by Medicare. In your birthday month in June, if let's say your birthday is June 15th, you'll lose coverage at the end of the month. So that's why you want to start working with them earlier. If you begin working with them the month before your birthday, there might be a break, but work with them, right? But the idea would be do it sooner so you have more time. It'll be 65 years of age would be the minimum age to get into Medicare. Unless you're working. So then you can enroll now if you're 65 plus. Yeah. Yep. A credible coverage form. So you're still working, you're over 65. That credible coverage document will be able to get you out of the not signing up for it sooner. The Part B penalty. So working with VIA, it's really as easy as prepare, review, and enroll. So for prepare, that would be you'd get all your information together. So from the email address that you want to use, telephone number, et cetera, then you'd get your prescription drug names, dosage, and frequency of each medication, because that will drive cost. Well, the first step would be just to pull everything together. So grab all of this information, including the names of your doctors and so forth, the hospitals that you go to. And then if you wanted, you've got two options. You can call VIA and they'll enter all that information, or you can go online and create your own VIA account. And then that's the prepare. So you're gathering all the medical information, all the pill medication, doctors, Medicare ID number, and then it's either a phone call or you go to VIA online. No, there's a relationship between VIA and they're a vendor. So they're a vendor. They've been designed to provide this service, kind of walk you into retirement healthcare. Sure. Yes, you'll have to have your Medicare number, and that involves going in and enrolling in A and B. The Medicare deductible, yeah, there still will be a deductible for Medicare Advantage. Yeah. Part A is no cost, but B is 185. Yeah. So then the next step is you can go online and review those plans based on the information you put in, or you could pick up the phone and have a conversation with an with VIA. I'm on VIA. VIA is just as cool as EY in my opinion. But they'll be able to walk you through and help you identify plans that are within your price range and also meet your medical needs. This is what shopping online looks like. So they'll show you this, or you could see this if you embarked on the shopping process yourself. So you'll be able to sort based on price, medical coverage, where the medicines land in the drug tiers, things like that. This is the phone call. So if you wanted to review with them via phone, all of the workforce is domestic. They're either Texas, Utah, or I forget where. There's one other location. They're all in the US. They're all licensed and certified in the state that they're selling the insurance in. They've all been trained in UMC culture, so they can at least get an idea of what it's like to be clergy. And after reviewing with the benefit counselor online, they could actually complete the paperwork for you. So that the box on the right there, they can actually, if you know what your plan is, and you're having that phone call as part of the review process, they can actually enroll you right then and there. So it would be a long phone call, maybe upwards of 2 hours, but it's pretty comforting to know that you can call somebody, you can call them, they're an expert in that field. And at the end of that call, if you wish, you can enroll in that plan. The other side of the coin, for those that embarked on the online search, so you're searching online, you're looking, if you identify a plan that you want, in most cases, you'll be able to enroll right then and there. And it makes me giggle, but it's a similar experience to purchasing something online. You put it in your basket, you put it in your cart, then you go to your cart and then you pay. So pretty remarkable that they can do that with health insurance. It's possible that if you're enrolling yourself, that there might be a plan. Not every plan can be enrolled straight away. Some of those plans need a benefit counselor to assist. But in that case, the system is smart enough to identify, oh, this is the Medicare Advantage, Blue Cross Blue Shield, yada, yada. You'll need to talk to a benefit counselor, and it'll provide a box for you to pick the time and date that you'd like to have that conversation. So it's smart, it's adaptable. If you chose that plan, you'll be prompted to set that up to make sure that you get that completed. And then VIA is there all year long. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. So if you have a question on your explanation of benefits, have a question about how something was covered or wasn't, a medicine that you just started taking, you can give them a call and they can input it into your account. So any questions at this point? We good online? The HSA, it's their money. So you're in HealthFlex HSA. That HSA account is your money. And I believe in retirement, you're able to use it for premium, and you're also able to use it for other services like a doctor's appointment or medicines. Yes. Yes. And if you're in an HRA plan now, because Indiana's in HealthFlex, if you're in an HRA plan now, you'll still have that HRA from HealthFlex that you can use on premium and expenses in the future, as long as you retire with it. If you terminate, then I think you've got 30 days, 90 days to spend that. So there's a limited amount of time to spend the HRA if you're terminating, but if you're retiring, it's your money. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And and Angela, that requirement is an IRS requirement, right? Yeah. Yes. My work here is done. It's been lovely. Participant just announced that, yes, they can work. You can work with, the question was, can I work with VIA throughout the year and in future years to find new plans, whether it's a Medicare Advantage plan, Medigap, Part D? The answer is yes. Yeah. Yes, that is a great point. So Bruce was saying, hey, if you have questions or problems, call Medicare, call Social Security. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's important that you engage with VIA to select, to purchase, enroll, whatever adjective resonates. You'll want to make sure that you use VIA to enroll in your Medicare plans because you want to make sure that you get that HRA. If you answer that call in the middle of the night, or you make that call in the middle of the night after you can't sleep and you're watching the Medicare open enrollment commercials, resist that urge. Don't enroll with them. Call EY. Call VIA. Sometimes you can actually wake up too early in the morning. Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah, the question was about VIA eligibility and Medicare VIA eligibility, and that would be to check with Angela. Yep, Wespath and VIA have been working together since 2012. Yeah. Yes. Yes, and VIA is the first and largest in that space. So they're actually a marketplace. So they select from over 120 different companies to find coverage for you. Sure. Yeah. 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 Yes. Well, why would you, so the question is, you're receiving the $720 in HRA contributions each year from the annual conference. Why would you want to get reimbursed? Essentially, the conference is giving you $720 annually for your medical care. You could pay it. You could pay it. You can. Yeah. Yep. Correct. So yeah, yes, and you can carry the HRA, you're allowed to carry over the full or roll over the full amount. So if you didn't use a penny, so year one, it would be 720. If that doesn't change, year two, it would be 720. So now you'd have Todd math 1440. So yeah, you could do that. You could let that grow. And then here's just a little more about the health reimbursement arrangement. Reimbursement's in the name. That's an IRS term. So you're going to pay and then you'll get reimbursed. Oops. It's a tax-free account. If you're eligible, Indiana will make that annual contribution of $720 to your account. And then you're able to use that for any of the out-of-pocket expenses, including premium. So here's the plan sponsor funding. So $720 annually. And if you have a HealthFlex HRA, they're not going to be combined. They're still separate. You'll have an HRA for VIA that will go ongoing. The HRA for HealthFlex, you'll still have as long as you retire with it, not term. And then you'll have that until you spend that down. And then if you have that HSA, you're also able to use HSA monies in retirement for expenses. But the biggest thing at the bottom, you must enroll through VIA to get the HRA set up and to get the HRA money. So resist that midnight call. Resist that spam call that says Medicare. I got one the other day and I wanted to ask them, why do you think I'm 65? Must be my online presence or something. So I've got 2 slides for reimbursement. Ultimately, you're going to pay for an expense and then you're going to get reimbursed. There's a couple of steps in the process. At the top, this is how the HRA reimbursement works. This is for a premium or for a service bill for medicine. You'll pay your insurance carrier for that service or that medicine. The insurance carrier then communicates to VIA to say, hey, we have a participant who spent some money. They would like to get reimbursement. So then VIA looks at your account. Yes, they've got money in their HRA, and then they'll go ahead and send you that reimbursement. Okay. So that will happen automatically. The advisors can help you set that up as well. They can also set this up, which this is pretty slick. This is for premiums only. So you can set up an automated reimbursement. So you'll set up a payment to your bank that that bank will then send to the insurance carrier. The insurance carrier then communicates with VIA. VIA checks the account to see if there's money there. And if there's money there, they reimburse you. The advisors will help set this up for you. So what this means right here, less paperwork to do, less things to have to worry about. And you've got somebody that knows how to set it up. Right. This would be for your Medicare Part C, your Medigap prescription drug. Yep. And the reason why it's for premiums only is because that'll be a fixed cost for the year. So you'd be able to adjust that every year. Automatic reimbursement for a physician bill or for medicine, that could change. It's kind of like your power bill, having your power bill on a automatic payment. I don't know what it is each month. Okay. The initial automation of this part could take up to 2 to 3 months for it to go through and for funding to land. So if you're interested in that, I would work with VIA benefit advisors soon after you enroll. Yeah. Yeah, medical, premiums, medical spend, pharmacy. Yep. Yes, the question was, is it tax exempt? And yes, there's no taxes for it. Oh, and it's $720 for each person, so participant and covered spouse. So Angela just described two, for the folks on the phone, Angela described two situations perfectly that really lend itself to making those enrollment changes with VIA. Okay, so use VIA to select your plans, use VIA to enroll in those plans. And from the first time you get in, ongoing, and it'll make Angela's life happier. That's what it's all about. And then VIA is available when you need them. So they're always available online. There's a ton of information there. And then, so it's Phoenix, Salt Lake City, and Dallas is where they're located. And 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Any additional questions?